Hello, this is Renee, and Tom and I are on the Ultimate World Cruise, and we just docked in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Well, maybe. After a sea day and missing Bergen, Norway, we arrive in Amsterdam.
Gentlemen, Captain Stig. And let me rephrase that, it's actually not a very good morning. At 6:20 this morning we came into the lock here into Amsterdam, and the lock was immediately blocked by protesters. We talked to the pilot, we backed out of the lock and got into position to go into the second lock that was also blocked. So the advice from the port authorities was to go out to the anchorage, which we are at now, anchorage number 8, and await a solution. So this has been escalated up all the way to the top of the city. The mayor is involved. Our agents are working together with the police and the local authorities to get this situation cleared so we can get in, and hopefully that will happen this afternoon. So for now we are just holding a position here and are awaiting the decision from the local authorities. And of course I will keep you updated as soon as I have more information. Thank you.
So we go out to anchorage number 8, which is 7 miles away from the locks. This windmill farm is located about 14 miles off the coast in the North Sea. It generates renewable energy for the Netherlands. And it keeps going and going and going.
Message from the port authorities that we are clear to come in. So we are proceeding towards the pilot station to pick up the local pilot, and from then on we will be heading for the locks. Hopefully we should be in there in about an hour's time. And we are heading in towards the ocean locks here in Imogene. Once we are through the locks, it's almost a 3-hour transit. Hopefully we will be alongside by 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight. Thank you. Passed through the locks and we are in the North Sea Canal, and we are heading up for Amsterdam. The slow run up here is 7 knots, so we will be alongside the pier by 9 o'clock tonight.
Our friends are at the DoubleTree watching the ship come in, and we flash the flashlight and they see where we're at. At dinner that night, we were told since we started the cruise, we've gone through 200,000 eggs, 23,000 pounds of lettuce, 54,000 pounds of chicken, 42,000 pounds of beef, and 60,000 beers. We finally made it into the port to be able to disembark by 9 p.m. The last time I was in Amsterdam, I was actually in Denmark when the Icelandic volcano went off in 2010, which caused us to go from Denmark to Germany to Amsterdam to get out of the way of the volcanic plume. I had a bit of deja vu when I got out of the cruise terminal, and there's the hotel that I stayed at for 10 days, the Movenpick Hotel. Tom and I walked along the pier that evening. Amsterdam was founded as a small fishing village in the 12th century. It rapidly grew into one of the most important ports in the world during the Dutch Golden Age in the 17th century. Amsterdam was a center of finance, trade, and culture, and its influence spread across the globe. The city was famous for its elaborate canal system, built during the height of its power, which earned it the nickname Venice of the North. These canals were not only essential for trade, but also served as a defense system and means of controlling water levels in the flat, flood-prone region. The next morning we get up bright and early and we set out for a walking and canal tour to fully immerse ourselves into the city's beauty. On our walking tour, and as we cruised through the canals, we learned about the city's history, including the struggles with water management which led to the creation of the intricate waterways. The canals?
They are mostly 9 to 10 feet deep, which is like 3 meters. And a lot of people ask me, so what's under us all the time? And the answer is very clear. Dikes, yes.
The canals were constructed in the 17th century as part of a massive urban expansion project. These canals are lined with historic homes and are recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
these towers. So there were plenty of towers, watch out towers, and they all were attached with long big walls so that the enemy could not overcome.
The name Amsterdam derives from the city beginnings around a dam built in Amstel. The dam was constructed to protect the village from flooding, making the start of what would eventually become a major European city. St. Nicholas Church in Amsterdam was completed in 1887. In the 14th and 15th centuries, Amsterdam became part of the Hanseatic League. The 17th century was known as the Dutch Golden Age. Amsterdam became one of the wealthiest cities in the world. The 18th century saw a decline in Amsterdam's fortune as the city struggled with competition from European powers and internal economic challenges.
And the whole canal belt, if you would turn upside down, you'd have 11 million pounds. You have a forest of 11 million beams in the ground. So our forest is in the ground, not up here.
So this is the oldest street of Amsterdam, made right after Damsquare, the Zeedijk, Sea
Also, the house is standing in wooden piles. That was the way they found to actually keep it a little bit stable, but because the city was flooded very often, until 1932 they built a huge dike in the north of the country, and then the city didn't get flooded anymore. But when it got flooded, the city starts sinking. That's why most of the houses are not straight.
In the later half of the 20th century, Amsterdam experienced an economic revitalization, driven by sectors such as finance, tourism, and technology. The city also became known as a major center for international business and conferences, with the Amsterdam Stock Exchange, now part of Euronext.
But the red light district is a place where a lot of people like to go and just to walk, because it's very different to other parts of the city and in general in Europe. Now the red light district is called like that, but you know why? Red lights, it stands for sex workers. It happens in Asia and all around the world. Now because as the city was growing as a port, more and more sailors were coming, and they were going out for drinking, and then some of them also to play cards, entertain. It has to be in closed spaces, and we go forward to when Napoleon came here in 1808, and he didn't like the red light district. He was like, this is too much, and there are too many diseases, so we have to make it legal. And that's when it started being legal in the Netherlands. It's not like it is now, but it started being legal. It was they had checkups, and it was a bit more controlled. Well, it wasn't until 1920 when they start being in windows. So you're just walking, and then there are windows. And we go forward to the 70s, the area of the red light district. It was not a very safe area. There was a lot of drug addicts, and it was an area where people didn't really want to stay around. There were human traffic, and eventually the government started thinking about solutions to change that, to make a safer environment and a safer neighborhood. And actually there was a movement of 12 women in 1994. That was called the Red Umbrella, and they demand to the government that they wanted to be sex workers as any other job. They wanted to be registered, they wanted to be freelancers, and in order to choose with who and how much and what days do they want to work. And the government said, yes, of course, it's the Netherlands. 2001, it became fully legal, and nowadays it's the only country in the world where they pay taxes.
These roads used to be underwater.
This is shopping streets of Amsterdam, the Kalverstraat. Kalf means calf, like little cow. It used to be a place where the calves were sold here, like an animal market, let's say. Can you imagine, there was a time when you can just go here through with the car, and later also by bike. Now only pedestrians are allowed. Kalverstraat. We walk slowly through the streets.
I will do it now. So the three axes are originally from the knight that gave the town the big dam, the dike, against in the Amstel River, 1275, and his name was Jan Persijn. This knight had a family weapon, family arms, and there were the three crosses. And later Amsterdam sort of confiscated the three crosses from this knight's family arms, and he put it in the coat of arms of Amsterdam. In the 17th century, it got another representation, another symbol. They stood for the three fears of the town. Well, we have talked about it already, the fires, because the houses were made of wood, the floods, because there was salt water in those days, they came from a nearby sea, the Southern Sea, and the contagious diseases there were, also because of the water. Means graven, that means to dig, and canals were all dug. The Amstel River was the only natural waterway, and all these canals were dug by hand in those days. It was a very hard time.
During World War II, Amsterdam was occupied by Nazi Germany from 1940 to 1945. The city's Jewish population, which had been one of the largest, most vibrant in Europe, suffered tremendously during the Holocaust.
Now the family, the Frank, they were from Germany, and when Hitler won the elections, they were really afraid that Jews were not having a good life there in Germany, so they moved to Amsterdam. Amsterdam in those days was the third city with the most Jews in the world. First was New York, second was Warsaw in Poland, and third Amsterdam with over 90,000 Jews in the city. Remember, the city of freedom, so it doesn't matter your religion or your idea. So for centuries they were feeling very safe here. They moved here, but of course the Nazis invade the Netherlands in 1940. So even though they were here, Otto, who was the father of Frank, thought it's still gonna be a safe place. It's not gonna. Holland is different than Germany, but no, they did exactly the same as any other country that they invaded. The first thing that the Nazis did when they arrived to Amsterdam, they went to the City Hall of Amsterdam and they said, we want a special map, and we want to see exactly where all the Jews are in the city. I want dots. You would just put dots for every 10 people. And then we want all the information about them, where do they work, how much money do they make, and how many people are living in the house, how many kids. And once they gather all that information, they start doing deportations. In the beginning, they did it at night with trams and trains, but when it was very obvious, then they did it also during the day, all the deportations. So the father was waiting on Frank. He had two daughters and a wife, but one day, one of the daughters, called Margot, she was the oldest, and she received a letter inviting her to a working camp in Germany. So the father was very suspicious about it, and he decided to talk with his colleague and the secretary of the factory that he had, the building that we just passed. And he said, will you help us to hide here? Behind factory there was an annex, a small building, and they say, of course, nobody will know, only two of us. You can bring your family. And then they were into hiding themselves with also another family, Jewish family, and for 2 years they were hiding exactly there, and until we don't know exactly who, probably a neighbor, saw them or heard them and reported them. So they were sent to concentration camps, and the mother and the two daughters, they died, but the father survived, Otto. So when he was back, he was publishing every day in the newspaper. If somebody heard about the wife and the two daughters, and eventually he got the bad news. Now the thing is, he knew about the passion that one of his daughters, called Anna, was developing. She wants to be a writer, and actually one of her dreams was to publish a book that she was writing during those 2 years. It was Achterhaus, was the house on the back, and she was writing all these experiences that they had, and her dream was to publish that book. So what did he do? He published it.
After the canal boat tour, we did a cheese tasting.
And from Gouda, of course, we have two different cheeses. We have cheese made of fresh milk, the classic one, and cheese made of pasteurized milk.
And then we sampled the local cuisine. After a full day, we wandered back to the ship. And after yesterday morning with the protesters, we thought we'd have smooth sailing going back through the locks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Stig, and we have now reached the locks, and today there is no disturbances for us to go through. However, we do have a medical emergency, so we will be stopping the ship, putting it alongside, and the local fire brigade, together with the ambulance, will evacuate the person in question. So that is the reason that we have an ambulance on the dockside right now. As soon as we are finished with that and the water level is equalized in the lock chamber and outside, the lock gate ahead of the ship will open up and we will proceed out into the North Sea. And shortly after that, we are passing the breakwaters in I-18. Pilots will disembark and we will be on our way to Iceland.
We leave the locks, the gate gets closed, and the harbor pilot gets off the ship. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more adventures from every corner of the globe. See you at the next port. Here's our itinerary for the next 4 ports. Hey everyone, I'm thrilled to announce that my very first children's book is now published. Join Alphanet, or Al, our adventurous elephant, as he sets sails on an exciting journey across the seas. Can't wait for you all to meet Al and join him on his nautical adventures, and thank you all for your support, and I hope you and your little ones enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed writing it. I'll leave a link in the description below. Happy reading!